Thank you very much indeed, Presiding Officer. And let me first congratulate Rhoda Grant on giving us this opportunity to debate what is a very important subject for an increasing number of people across Scotland. And of course I represent a constituency in Aberdeenshire which is less remote than the Highlands but actually has a higher proportion of its population who live in a rural setting compared to the Highlands. So therefore many of the issues that have been delineated by Rhoda Grant in her contribution are ones which are familiar to people who live in Aberdeenshire. I think certainly it is important that we have mechanisms and structures in place that allow people to make a contribution to those in need. And I think voluntary arrangements and bodies delivering community care, being involved in the planning of that, is an important part of ensuring that we have a focus on the needs of people in local communities. Having people in those communities as part of the process is important. I'm not sure I share some of the concerns that Rhoda Grant has in terms of the way the Council may choose to restructure things, and I'm of course not speaking of a political council that's an ally of mine, so I'm entirely neutral from that point of view. It's certainly the case that we have to make sure that we have arrangements in place that do deliver the best value for the money that is available. Now, of course, we should remind ourselves that in the budget that is currently being debated, the one on which we will decide, I think, next week, has some 70 million for a change fund in relation to this area. So everyone who votes against the budget, should they choose to do so next week, will be voting against the money that could be available for providing the appropriate kind of change. It is important that there is a voice for older people. I speak as someone, and I'm not alone in the chamber, whose years are marching on more rapidly than they used to, who has seen parents in the system, albeit in my case, some distance back. It is important that we reduce red tape and improve joint working, and today's announcement of 2 million for a system of lead commissioning is a part of the way in which we can tackle this. But there's no question the care budget is an enormous budget. We need to make sure that the continuing pressure on that budget from people's ageing, the proportion of our society that is aged rising, it will become increasingly difficult. So leveraging voluntary action into caring for our people is important. But of course we shouldn't imagine that that's particularly new. Certainly I was involved, and I know that others in the Chamber have been involved many decades ago in voluntary action. Today, however, we expect a great deal of the voluntary sector. That's why it's important that we do support them, make sure that lunch clubs, make sure that social events for older people are supported, and that there are links, often from older people to younger people, not simply creating an environment where those already close to those in need are providing additional care. So I very much agree that this is a very important subject. I look forward to what the Minister has to say. I see that Richard Simpson is likely to be speaking. I perhaps encourage him to speak to his colleagues about the proposed National Care Service, which of course kind of runs against the proposals that we've heard discussed today, essentially centralising, one reason perhaps why they would not have my support. But nonetheless, there is a considerable discussion yet to be had between now and the May election. Today will be a little part of that debate. Presiding Officer.